Yes, good evening, people. Welcome back to Football Heritage TV. Apologies, that was my fault. Something went wrong my end. We were meant to go live 6 or 7 minutes ago. My fault completely. But good evening to you. Happy Thursday. And while Spurs aren't playing, we will try to keep you as entertained as possible. With me tonight, the boys from Tottenham Away. We've got Iggy, Prince, and Stel. How you doing, boys? You good?
Very good, mate.
Yeah,
Very good.
All good.
Big up to everyone in the chat.
How you doing?
Big up, panel.
Good. Good. I feel like there's a lot of glitches going on, so I'll try and plow through it. But Lee, how are you? Are you good?
Yeah, I'm good, mate. Yourself?
Savva, you've got a lag. That's what it is.
I am good. Right, listen. If everyone can hear me, let me know in the chat. I apologise. Have I still got a lag now?
You're about 5 seconds behind us. You're 5 seconds behind us.
I think with the rest of us, all right. I think we can all hear each other and sound. Yeah,
we're fine. Savva just got a lag. It should catch up.
You're Eric Dyer mode. Eric Dyer.
5 seconds behind the play. Right, listen. So if you guys can hear me, I'll tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to jump out and jump back in. Guys, I want to start tonight by talking about something positive. I'll leave you guys to crack on with it for 2 minutes while I try and sort something out. I want to talk about Mickey van der Ven. Iggy, just how good has Van der Ven been this season? And another game, in my opinion, just my humble opinion, at the weekend, where he kind of kept us together at the back there. Again, mopping up mistakes, clearing up for counter-attacks. What do you make of Mickey van der Ven?
Listen, this season he's been immense. From the first game I saw him at Brentford, you know, he came into the side only a few days before. You know, he joined the club only a few days before, and he was put in straight in for the Brentford game. And from that game on, he's just grown into an absolute beast. And I agree with Robert Wilson in the comments. VDV is class. He really is, and he's giving. I don't know about you guys, man, but he's giving me like Jan Vertonghen vibes. He has done since the first, physically, aesthetically, just in the way that he plays and his presence, you know. And I think in time, he will grow massively in leadership. He'll be one of the big focal leadership. My fear is, and it's a correct fear in a sense. He will attract the attention of the big clubs. It's inevitable. He will attract because he is that good. And whoever done the scouting on him and chose, they've done a brilliant job. They have to say, none of us really knew him from the start. We was top sober. We was talking about VDV, but none of us really knew. However many people looked into him and tried to understand his character, no one expected him to be as good as he was or he has become, and he's grown massively in stature. And for me now, he is our most important player at centre back in that defence. Honestly, he's huge for us.
Yeah. So hopefully, can you hear me now? Is that better?
Yeah, better. Yeah,
am I back?
Better.
Am I in time?
Yeah.
Okay. Apologies. Somebody said Savva's got that Levy Wi-Fi, so I do apologise. Got the cheap deal going on over here. Lee, look, listen, Mickey van der Ven, I think was one of those that, during the summer, there were a lot of people who didn't know a lot about him. There were a lot of people that had watched the Bundesliga and really wanted him. Are you surprised by just how good he's been for us? Because in my humble opinion, again, I think he's been the best of all our back four. What do you make of the situation with Mickey?
I don't think there's much more to add than what Iggy's just said. The one thing that I will say is that when I watched him play before he came to Spurs a few times, you could tell that he was definitely a player ahead of his years. Very, very, very mature for his age. Captain captain already at a young age into like I forget what it is now, the under 21s or something like that. And he earned that. And for me personally, I think this whole, we have him free of club captains. I think he's a potential future club captain in his own right, without a shadow of doubt. For me, I'll put him ahead of Romero. as a captain. He's consistent. He's level-headed. He puts his performances in. Never lets his head drop. I think between him and Vicario, probably for me is so far as player of the season.
Stel, player of the season, Mickey van der Ven so far?
It's between him and Vicario. I think them two have been consistent every week, pretty much, give or take the odd game. I actually did a show on Van der Ven before we signed him. I said that there's really good positives about him. There's a couple of things I'm concerned about. Two of the things I was concerned about was him in the air. And the other one I was concerned about him was his recovering at an angle, not in a straight line. The one at the angle, I was proven wrong big time on that one, for sure. In the air, I'm still not convinced. We're not good at set pieces, and he's part of that.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
I'm not sure about him aerially yet. I'm not saying he's bad. I don't know whether he's elite, but on the ground, recovery runs, tackling, distribution of the ball, pace. He's got a lot of good attributes. A lot. He looks like a superstar in the making, doesn't he? He looks like someone that could get to 25 and everyone in the world is going to want him. He looks like one of those. So we better fix up quick and win trophies, because if not, he'll be one of the first players that we're going to get a massive bid for from a super club, and he'll be gone, because that's what happens when the super clubs come in. So yeah, he's been definitely one of the outstanding players of our season so far.
I mean, it's something I've been seeing more and more. The more that his performances get better, rather than us celebrating it, what I'm seeing a lot of people saying is that, hang on, he won't be here too long. Is that always the worry, Iggy, when you are a club that don't win trophies? Is that the worry that when you bring in a young-ish player and they start developing? I mean, we had it with Michael Carrick. You know, we had it with Gareth Bale. We had it with Luka Modric. We had it with Berbatov. You bring in these players at a fairly young age. They progress really well. Is that the danger for you of, if we don't win things in the next couple of years, that players like that will move on?
It's the story of Tottenham, though. It's the story of Tottenham. It has happened so many times. But we also work like this. We work to nurture a player to become a superstar, for that someone else to then pick up the fruits. We generate, obviously, from the sale of that player, which is why we get them young. By the way, we get them young because there is we want to sell. We want to maximize we want to maximize on their future sale. There's no two ways about that. So we are built to do this. It's happened many a times before with Bale, with Modric. I mean, the list goes on. He will eventually be one of those players, because we have seen it happen to us many a times. Instead of building around players like Mickey van der Ven, like I don't know, Udogie, Vicario, instead of building around that and then making ourselves stronger, we get those players. We value them in the sense that we look to then have a sell on, and players, you know, and they will eventually move on. And I also think, and I will say this as well, players, especially foreign players that come into England and sign for Tottenham, it's a trampoline to go on to put themselves out on the window to then move on to a bigger club.
Yeah,
you know, if you look at so many teams that are, you know, Man City, Liverpool, they could all do with a Van der Ven in their defense right now, and he would be in that defense. Van Dijk could do with a compatriot as well. Imagine, could do with that, and Man City could do with a Van der Ven. Arsenal play alongside Saliba. I mean, I'm talking about all teams that are above us right now. They could all do with it, and Van der Ven would walk into that first 11, 100%. So he's ready now. He's ready now for those teams. Imagine a few years' time.
Yeah, I mean, Lee, is that the difference between winning and losing? And when I say winning and losing, I don't mean winning and losing one game. I mean, is that the difference between winning trophies and not? The fact that people will start looking at some of the gems we unearth. Now, look, Mickey van der Ven for me has been a standout. this time next year, we could be talking the same about Papa Sarr and Destiny Udogie. Does that worry you? Are you not as worried as the others? What's your take on how we keep these players rather than fall back into past trends of moving them on to bigger clubs?
I think. Well, listen, it comes down to the club, right? I mean, players come and go all the time. We know that. Very few players that stick around for a long, long time nowadays, especially if they're as good as some of these players are. But it's got to be about the ambition of the club, right? Listen, if it comes to the end of his contract after a couple of years and a club comes in for him and he wants to go, that's fine. But the ambition of the club has to be that they have to replace him with someone, not something like a Ashley Phillips or something like that. It's got to be someone of the same kind of stature or someone that's got potential to get there in quickly. Otherwise, you can't. At the end of the day, you can't hold these players to ransom. If they want to go, they want to go. If they just see the contract out, or you make a profit on them. But it's got to be, the club has got to have the sight to say, right, well, if he's going, we're going to use the money we get for him to get someone ready made, and that's the bit that I haven't seen us do a lot over the years. We're too happy to get something in, or a lot of mediocre than actually getting, replacing class with class. That's the issue.
Yeah.
Just
I mean,
quick,
still, I want to evolve the.
Savva, just real quick in response to Mark. Son is 1 in a million. You won't get a lot of players like Son that has done what he's done. But also, to counter that, Mark, I would ask you, how's that worked out for Son? How's it worked out in terms of what he's won? How's it worked out? He's done individually. He's done a lot. But how's that worked in him winning what all players strive to win, a trophy with their side? If he had done what the others ultimately ended up doing, he would be playing in an elite team. No two ways about that. And he probably would have been a little bit more successful on the field with his team. So, Mark, balance, man. But respect to Son. I love Son. I love the fact that he's with us and he's carried on with us. But ultimately, will it conclude his career winning the ultimate prize? I doubt it, man.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I completely agree with you. I think this is when people say the one-off circumstances like that, Iggy, I think that's the perfect response, isn't it? Is, well, he's going to get to the end of his career as it stands at the moment and have nothing really to show for it. If we're on,
for me, he's a legend. He's a sense of a Spurs legend. But at the end of the day, man, when I look at him in his career, and I'm sure he'll probably look at it in 20 years' time and thinking, at what point of my career should I have left Spurs? Everyone else did, including Kane.
Yeah. No, absolutely. Stel, look, listen, let me move to you just quickly before I do. Big up to Get the Fraud Arteta Out My Club, who's become a YouTube member. I don't know if that's a renewal or just a brand new, but big up to you. He's always in the show. Big up to you. What happened to your boys last night? It was lovely to see Portuguese teams last night scoring last-minute winners. Big up to you. And Evanescence. I'm not even going to read it out. Just thank you for the money. But what a waste of your money going into my pocket. So thank you very much for that. Big up to you. Stel, I want to move this along.
Who's in whose pocket now?
I mean, listen, he wants to talk about pockets and his money's just gone straight into mine. Like, all good. It's all good.
The irony.
Stel, I want to talk about, listen, we've been conceding goals, right, lately. And we've also had some injury issues or suspensions, whatever, at the back with Udogie, with Porro. Now, I don't really want to go too deep into, oh my God, we lost to Wolves, because it was 4 or 5 days ago now. But the big talking point before that game, when the team news was announced and after, was the fact that he went straight back to Davis and Royale, and we didn't see any other way of playing with maybe Van der Ven going to left back, or Romero going to right back, or Dragashin going to right back. None of that happened, Stel. What did you make of that decision from Ange?
Before I answer that, I do want to answer it. I just want to say this thing about Mickey Van der Ven, because I never got a chance to come round again. I think we really need to focus on winning silverware, because just let me paint this picture. Liverpool their number one centre-back, Virgil van Dijk, is 32 years old. They're going to be looking for a new replacement prospect, yeah? Manchester City, their centre-backs, Nathan Ake, 29. John Stones, 29. They're going to be looking for a young, up-and-coming centre-back at some point. Technical, quick, can play a high line. Man United, their centre-backs, Varane, 30. Maguire, 30. Lindelof, 29. Johnny Evans, 36. They've got Sir Jim Ratcliffe. He's going to look to restructure it. They're going to look for a new, exciting centre-back. So all those clubs are bigger than us and are capable of prizing him away. That's just in the Premier League. Yeah. So we really need to buck up our ideas, because I can see that happening, and those clubs are in the market. They're going to be in the market in the next couple of years. So, yeah. But to answer your question, Savva, it's such a difficult one, right? It's such a difficult one, because either you stick to your ways and you play with a left and a right back. So this is Davies and Emerson's actual positions, right? They're not being told to play a different position. So you go to the players you've got that play the positions for your system, but the levels drop off massively because they're just not good enough for the system we want to play. The alternative is you play players that don't play in those positions, but they've played in those positions in the past and done a job, but not necessarily done great. So then you play Dragusin at right back. Or you change the system, go to a back three, and you play Dragusin in the back three with Van de Ven and Romero. So for me, what do? Do you change your system and go against what you've said? This is who we are. This is the way we're going to be. Or do we stick to the system, take the hits, and wait until we bring in the players that can fit the system over time? Personally, for me, I can't stand Ben Davies or Emerson Royale. I feel that whenever they come on the pitch, the levels drop. You know, a lot of fans say, "Oh, but they stepped up. They've progressed under Ange." You know, they when we had an injury crisis, they came in, and out of the 6 losses this season, those 2 have played in 5. They've played in 5 of the 6 losses this season. Where's the praise on this? Like, how are we hyping this up? I don't understand it. And then the counter argument is, oh, but Pedro Porro, he played in 5 of those games as well that we lost. But Pedro Porro is the second best player at the club for goals and assists against the top 12 teams. Are Emerson and Ben Davies part of that? No. So I can counter it with Porro. I feel whoever comes to this club plays them, whether it's Poch playing Dyer, Jose playing Davies, Conte playing Chicken Royale and Davies, Stellini, Mason playing them. Now Ange's playing them, and I'm just worried where we're playing players because they're just nice guys. They do as they're told. They're steady eddies in terms of personality. So therefore we're playing them. But for me, the system collapsed with them 2 in it. It's absolutely woeful watching them playing this system. They can't do it. It's as simple as that. I think Ange. I personally think Ange, Savva. I think he just needs to make a decision and come out and just publicly say it, just to calm fans down. Either say, look, I'm sticking to this and I'm not budging from this. Judge me when I get my players. Once I've got all my players, then judge me. Until then, this is how it is. Or he goes back on what he said of this is who we are. This is the way we're going to do it. And he says, do you know what? Because this is what Ten Hag did. Ten Hag came out and said, I can't play my way with these players when he had the injuries. Maybe Ange needs to come out and be a bit Ten Hag and say, I can't play my way when I've got certain players here.
Yeah.
But that caused a lot of problems when Ten Hag said that with the Man United fans. But now Man United fans are saying, actually, by you adapting and not playing Ajax ball, you've kind of got us into a top 4 race. Whereas Ange, who's being more stubborn and sticking to his guns, it's slipping out of our hands. So who's right, who's wrong? We're going to find out into the season. But the way we're going now, this way, for me, will cost us top 4. But in the long run, it will work. What do you want? Do you want it now, or are you prepared to take the hits? I don't think Spurs fans are prepared to take the hits. I don't think they've got it in them.
Yeah, I mean, guys, I don't really want to go round robin. Anyone can answer, and we'll just have a general chat. But I mean, for me, I was really disappointed, guys, in terms of when that team sheet was announced. I thought that bringing in Dragusin now allowed you to be quite versatile with Van der Ven, with Romero, with Dragusin, who can play right back as well as centre half. I just kind of felt like, right, this is the chance for our brand new 30 million, 28 million, whatever it was, pound signing to come in that everyone raved about. And, oh, my God, we've beaten Bayern Munich to this player. Then to see Davis and Royale playing, why are we not seeing Dragusin get any minutes, guys? Why? I think we've had like, is it 17 minutes or something so far?
We spoke about this on Monday night, and I said that was the only thing I was disappointed with Ange was, in fact, that starting lineup. As soon as I saw that starting 11, now if we have our normal back four with the goalkeeper, I'm absolutely fine. Then Dragusin has to take, for now, sit on the sidelines. But the way I saw it is, the moment that you have one of your back four out, or in this case even two, then the next in line after that should not be Davis, should not be him. It should be Dragusin. This is what we got him in for. So you're right, and I said this as well. I would have thought we would have tried Van der Ven left back and put Dragusin in there with Romero. That would have been the most likely of the two options, rather than put Dragusin on the right. So you want to make the player that's coming into the team, you want to put him in the most comfortable position, and somebody that's already in the team is more confident, perhaps can. But also it allows us to evaluate Van der Ven. We know he's a good centre back. How does he look like left back? So, but when that didn't happen, and I think Stel said this on Monday, if memory serves me right, it's clear that Dragusin is only going to play if either one of the two centre backs are out, because it's by making those choices, Savva, he's told us that Davis is the natural cover for Udogie and Emerson's the natural cover for Polo. That's what that told me. But for the rest of the team in that starting 11, I was happy with just that. But I was disappointed with Ange that he's reverted back to those two. I get it when we was in emergency and we had to play those two at centre back, but now I just thought and also their Wolves' danger was on the wing. It was on the wing. We knew that we'd have had Neto. They knew that we're a bit quicker, and the forward up front is a bit lively on the wide areas. If we was going to get exploited in any areas, it would have been the wide areas. And the fact that we actually countered that by putting those two in the team together, one you can deal with. You think, you know what, they're going to go that side. We have to just follow that. But when you got there and there, then you have to constantly know that it doesn't work for me. And we've
Iggy, can I say something? Right? Do you know what the most frustrating thing is as a Spurs fan regarding the Wolves game? When we knew that Porro and Udogie were out, what's the one thing 99.9% of all Spurs YouTubers said, right? Oh my God, does that mean it's going to be Davies and Emerson? I hope we don't do that. I hope we don't do that. And literally, that's exactly what we did. And now we're saying, why did you do that? Why is it we all saw it? Like, we all saw where this was going to go. Isn't that the frustrating bit?
For sure. I mean, Lee, listen, I agree with everything both the other two have said. But
unless Dragusin's not ready, man. Unless Ange doesn't think Dragusin's ready. Listen, I don't know, man. Because they see him at Hotspur Away every day. I don't know. I'm trying to think of answers here, man.
He's not ready. He shouldn't be playing all these games. 30 million for Dragusin. He's not ready. He needs time. It's like,
mate, I've seen him play for Genoa. The guy's ready. If from what I established and what we've seen him at Genoa, he scored on his last home game for them. And a bullet header. He's really powerful in the air as well. Strong.
If he's not ready, you don't sign him in January. The whole point of January is to bring in reinforcements. It's not to build the squad for this. January is the reinforcement month. So if you buy anyone in January, it's so they come in and help you now.
Of course.
The Swedish kid's not ready. Now we're saying Dragusin's not ready. Timo's coming straight away. Okay,
no.
He's not good.
It's the only thing I can come up with. I don't know. I can't explain.
You might be right, Iggy. You might be right.
I can't explain it otherwise.
I'm just questioning what we've done here as a club. I don't understand it.
That's on Ange, though. That decision is on Ange. It's as simple as that. There's no two ways about that. That doesn't mean I want him gone or sacked or Ange out. I'm just saying that decision solely is on him.
Isn't it sad, though, that whenever anyone criticises whenever anyone criticises Ange, we have to caveat that it means we don't want him out. Lee, I'll come to you in 1 second. Before we do, first of all, Gary Becks, I don't think everyone said VDV was a cheap option. VDV wasn't cheap, and anyone that watched the Bundesliga saw that VDV was a very, very good player. So not everyone said that, but thank you for that comment. I'm going to say here, big up to Evanescence, who's trolling me, but paying to troll me, which is absolutely wonderful. Terry hurt you a lot, Savva. Yes, very hurt. Savva, will you be back on the football terrace? No, I won't. Savva, may I suggest anger management? I'll tell you what, if you up the super chats, I might be able to afford the anger management. Savva is about to blow up again. Okay. And Savva, your lackeys in the chat won't help you. Thank you. So far, this guy has given me this guy's given me about £12 of his money. So bring it on. Bring it on. Lee, coming to you. I can't believe I'm being trolled, but being paid to be trolled. I'm normally just called a CUNT and they move on. Lee, both the guys are right. Yeah. We all looked at that team sheet and went, oh my God, Royal and Davis again. You've got the likes of Pep Guardiola, who will put in Rico Henry at right back, right? He'll put a midfielder at left back or right back if he needs to. He'll just slot somebody in there. You've got Liverpool, who are playing Quansah at centre-half, who's 20 years of age. Connor Bradley is 18, 19, whatever he is, been coming in and playing at right back. Yet Spurs can't play our 21, 22-year-old, £30 million player that we signed from Serie A, where he's been playing regularly for the last couple of years. Why is it always Spurs that can't seem to drop them in?
Mate, I wish I had an answer for you. I said exactly the same as the other lads. And I was like, right, as soon as I saw those two out, I was like, right, at least we know that he can, we know that he's a bit of a utility player as well, right? He can play it all the way across the back line. You know that, for as much as Davis has done for us over the years, he's getting on, and you've got someone like Neto flying down that right. Surely you must think, well, I've got to nullify that attack. And the easiest way to do that would be to put apparently the fastest player in the Premier League in a defence on the left back, who has also played as a left back as well. And then you bring Dragus in as a centre back, and then you just got Royale. It's not the favourite meal that you want on the day, but you get it because it's all that's available.
Yeah,
for me, that would have been the easiest solution. But I'm bamboozled by it. I really am. I think the only excuse that I could come up with on Monday night that was maybe that when they're in training, when they're doing the drills and stuff like that, it's too much that they're playing. Those four are doing specific things, and he wasn't involved or something like that, and he maybe doesn't know it. But if you're a competent football player, you can pick these things up really, really quickly, right? You don't have to be going to a game and know how to tackle or know how to cover and stuff like that. And it's honestly, but it was a really, really weird choice for me. I mean, I'm not one to say, I think he should change the formation or something like that. But taking a defender out and dropping a defender who's, surely Ange must know that the level that these guys are playing at. Surely he's not naive enough to not know what we think about them. And against a team like Wolves, listen, if it was at Man City or a Liverpool or something like that, and you wanted something that these players and what they're going to do, fair enough. But no, not taking anything away from Wolves. But if you're going to play a player that hasn't played any full games yet and put them into a position, then this is the ideal game to do it.
Yeah. I mean, guys, listen, the thing that I think gets me is, again, during that January period, we had, and this is one of my biggest pet hates, is we won the transfer window. We had the best window of all the clubs in the Premier League. And so far, I've seen a winger that's come in that's done a couple of assists against Brentford and everyone raved about him, and a centre-half that the manager doesn't even put into the team. Now, again, doesn't it just go to show that it's another window where you think we could have kicked on? We could have really, really kicked on. Now, I'm not saying we won't get fourth, but it just feels to me that we keep doing this. We really, really keep doing this. I don't know. Am I chatting nonsense, or is anyone else feeling that way? Is anyone else disappointed again by the window?
The issue is that because no one spent money, because out of nowhere, FFP actually became a thing, and profit sustainability became a real thing as well. Whereas for so many years, it's just been laughed at and it's not really taken seriously. Suddenly, it's serious. We were in a position where we were able to spend where other clubs weren't, but what we spent wasn't anything major. We've done more in previous windows. I think last year we signed Pedro Porro for 42 million. So it's not like we've done anything different that we haven't seen before. It's just the fact that all the other clubs couldn't made us look so great in the eyes of fans who wanted to just praise how amazing the club is now. Look at us. Look what we can do. We've got powers the rest don't. You wait and see come the summer who's got the power. We'll see who's got the biggest.
Didn't it read? Tell me if I'm wrong. Hasn't the FF, this is all alien to me. Hasn't the FFP period now reset itself for the 3-year cycle? Am I right in saying that it goes again? Like that was the end of the 3-year period, right, for the accounts, and then it goes again, right?
There's two things. FFP's for Europe, all of European football. Profit and sustainability is a Premier League thing. I think the profit and sustainability is the one that hurt clubs more than FFP. It was the Premier League clubs that had an issue more so this year. So that's why, and that doesn't reset. Your spending will be affected this summer for the current 3-year accountancy period. So clubs like Chelsea are in for one rocky ride this summer if they don't sell their players, but not just sell them for prices that they paid for them. Otherwise, they're taking. Yeah, they still have to pay these players, Savva. They're being paid over like 8 years in installments. So, but regardless, Savva, regardless, if we've got that clout, if we do have that power now that the others don't, then double down on it. Like really put the gauntlet down and seize the moment where the rest can't. Surely, if we brought in 3 really, really good players and the rest can't, we then begin to gain an advantage. Whereas what we did was we signed Dragusin, who doesn't play for us. We signed Timo Werner, who plays for us, but he might as well not play for us. And then we signed a generational superstar, Messi, from Sweden, who might play for us one day. Like, what did we really do in January? Like, if you look at it, what did we actually do that's helped us?
Yeah, it's interesting. Iggy?
No, all I was going to say, Dragusin was brought in as cover for the 2 centre-backs because we had issues with them all season long. So that probably sped up the thought process in getting him in. Timo was brought in again as a squad player because we were short on the left with Son out in Asia, and the other 2 lads that have been playing on the left wing injured. Like Perisic gone and Solomon nowhere to be seen. So he was brought in as a stopgap, which is what we love to call them. And who else is there? And this young kid from Sweden I never heard before, but everyone became this like guru, this Swedish wonder kid. As soon as we became linked with him, he was a wonder kid. I'd never heard of him before. So it's fine. Look, to answer your question, we did nothing really. We didn't bring anyone that could impact the team immediately, which is what we hoped.
Have any of the players that we signed so far impacted us in a way where we say, yeah?
I think if you wanted those kind of players, the identikit that we went for are not those players. If you wanted a certain player to really make an impact in your squad, then we've gone and brought in.
My point is, we signed Kulu and Bentancur a couple of years back
because we wanted them to impact the team straight away, so they were right.
So the question is, have any of the signings we made in January impacted us so far?
But they're not impacting them in the way that Kulusevski and Bentancur came in, but they were exactly what we needed for that final push. The thing is, when we got Bentancur and Kulusevski in, Conte had a clear target that he wanted to make 4th. He said that He wanted to make fourth. So he brought in the exact players that he needed
Well, what
to
we doing
allow.
now? What we doing now?
What are we doing now?
We're top 4 race now.
It was a different. It was like we with Conte, we was just had that soul. There was a different momentum about it. And well, listen, I'm not gonna that we are in the league.
Why
Exactly.
don't I feel you're wriggling out of something, but I don't know what you're wriggling out of.
I'm not wriggling out. I felt the thing is, it's two different scenarios. Still, was year one under Ainge, which the expectation for me was if we can get Europe, he's already done wonders. If we can get top 4, he's done a miracle. That's what I said under Ainge, the first season.
I agree
with this squad. With Conte, he picked us up. We was on the floor. We was relegation form following the Nuno stuff. So when he aimed for 4th, which is what the target was, those two players that you're talking about, they impacted the first team. They were in the first team.
Yeah,
they played. That. These guys here, they're not come in to play in the first. They've come. Okay, they've not come in to bring the same.
This is nonsense. Ange said in December, because Ange said in December,
he said, "I want Werner, I want Timo."
Ange said, I've spoken with the board. I want signings and I want them early because if you do it at the end of January, they don't impact the games in January. Impact, right?
But we was flooded with injuries. We were flooded with injuries, though.
Yeah, but hold on. Ange said, I want signings early in January, not the end, because if they come at the end, they can't impact the games in that month. So my question is, where's the impact then? We got them early. Where's the impact?
There isn't any. They've made absolutely no impact.
This is my point. So what Ange said didn't add up. What the board have done, are these the players to make the impact? I honestly, I don't get what we've done. Ange said what he needed. I want them early to have an impact. We're now what? 22nd of February. We're now 7 weeks in. Where's the impact? Our performances are going backwards. Like, I don't get it. I don't get what we've done. I'm not digging out Ange or anyone. I just don't understand what we was.
I think the idea that Ange had in that moment was the correct one because we had I think we had 3 games in January, if I remember correctly. So the idea of what he said was the correct one. We then went into like a lot of massive injury crisis in that time, and the players that we brought in were brought in early, but again, they haven't. But they weren't. I don't feel they would. Dragusin, it was a centre half. We needed one. We always said we needed 2 centre halves. So we got Van der Ven, and then we got Dragusin 6 months later on. That was correct. We did bring the 2 centre backs in, but then Timo, and who else was and the Swedish wonder kid. I can't believe I'm ridiculing the poor kid. I don't know, but I'm saying those 2 players. We got them in. The Swedish player we'll find out in due course. But Timo, we got him in because we had no one else to play on the left.
Yeah, but Ange said he wants impact now, right? Let's go for January. Burnley, we scraped past Burnley in the FA Cup. We went to Old Trafford against the worst Man United team at the time. We drew. We played Man City in the FA Cup. We didn't lay a glove on them. We just about beat Brentford. We went away to Everton and we drew. Like, I don't understand. From what was said to us, what we did and what we're doing, none of it adds up to me. Like, none of it.
When
maybe it just wasn't possible. Maybe there were other targets in January and they just weren't possible because of the, it's hard in January. But this comes back to another point.
Why sign these ones then?
Risk-free, Timo, risk-free. This comes back to the conversation that we keep having, right? If we're saying that these guys have made no impact, and looking at their history, we knew they weren't going to be playing any impact. They weren't going to make the kind of impact that we thought because we know what they're like, we know where they are at their club, third choice at their club. And I say talking like I'm talking about one person. I am talking about one person. Their history in the Premier League is a pretty bad one. Why is he not bringing the likes of Santiago or something like that, and giving them a run in the first team? If there's nothing else available, I mean we talk about the Bradleys and talk about Liverpool. Why not do it,
Lee? I don't think the academy is part of our plan. I said it a couple of weeks ago. The academy for me is not part of the plan. It's an illusion. Otherwise, they wouldn't be signing in youngsters. The fact we're signing in youngsters says to me the academy is not part of the plan.
There's no link. There's no link between the first team and our academy. Man City, there is a link.
Yeah, but you've got these guys on the bench. You've got every week we've got a couple of these guys on the bench.
They're there to make up the numbers. They're not there to do anything else.
I've had these arguments. You've seen me. I've had these.
I know it's just that's unfair on them. Really,
Liverpool and Man City have a clear link between the first team and an academy. We don't have that link. They're there to make up the numbers. They're there tick boxes. They're there to fill in English quote, but they're not there to actually impact the first team. They're not.
They could though.
I'm not going to disagree with that. I'm not going to disagree.
If our academy was part of the plan, I don't think we'd have signed Ashley Phillips. I don't think we'd have signed this Swedish kid. I don't think we'd have signed that Polish lad that's gone back on loan. I don't think we'd have spent loads of money on Brennan Johnson either. If our academy was part of the plan, I just don't think Veliz, another one, we wouldn't have signed him. We're making a lot of young signings. Why? That means the academy is not part of the plan.
Listen, just let me quickly get to some super chats, which are one from George says Evanescence money has run out, so he's doing his bit. Big up to you, George, always in the chat. Big up to you, mate. Really appreciate your support. And by the way, people, please smash the like button. There's 352 of you in here and only 107 likes. So we've got less than a third of the people who have smashed that like button. So please do. Wayne Holland as well. Always much love to Wayne. Lovely guy. Thank you so much for the super sticker. I hope you're well, my friend. And we'll be seeing you boys next year at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium for Tottenham Leicester. And as you guys are smashing the league. So big up to you and your team. Gary Beck's just everything he's saying is antagonizing for some reason. Savva, who are you dropping to play Dragusin? That tells me straight away when I read that how much of a small mentality he has as a football fan. Other clubs rotate players. When we suggest a player playing, it has to be dropped. For me, at the end of the day, we're considering you're telling me he can't get a game against Wolves, against Everton, against Brighton, against Burnley in the Cup, against whoever? I don't believe that for 1 second. Second of all, you're talking about putting a square peg in a round hole. Gary, you clearly don't watch any other leagues. Dragusin has played at right back. So has Christian Romero. Van der Ven's played left back. So maybe get a bit of football knowledge before you come in and try and belittle people. But big up to you. And just before we move on from our defence, I want to talk about some midfield issues. Barry has asked a question, which I thought was pretty good. Said, question to the group. If we had a bid of 70 million in the summer for Christian Romero, would you take it? I'll go around the panel. I'll start with you, Lee. Christian Romero, 70 million on the table, taking it?
Savva, I've been saying this for months and months and months. I think that's why we got Dragusin in. My opinion is that Romero's off in the summer. I think there's already been inklings of a certain club that are sniffing around him, and I think if they come calling, I don't think you turn it down. So I think that's why we bought Dragusin in, and I think he's off in the summer. If you had asked me what one player is going to leave in the summer, potentially, I'd say it was him.
Really, but okay, but now would you sell him at 70 million?
Yeah.
You would. Okay. Yeah. Iggy, Christian Romero, 70 million.
Fucking hell, man.
By the way, this was a question from someone in the chat. This isn't a subject that I brought up.
Yeah, no, it's.
You know, I'm going to get hate for this in my YouTube comments.
It's just like it's the same. It's almost parallel to the conversation we was having about Van der Ven earlier on. It's like we're depriving ourselves of our best assets, and Romero, I know like he divides opinions a little bit this season, but he is under for me anyway. He falls into that bracket of the best players that we got in our team currently. Him, our two centre backs, Maddison, Vicario, they're our best players, and to deprive ourselves, it would be insane. Because we just added a centre back, which is what we lacked, and now we're going to get rid of her. So who's coming in for him? 70 million, man, is a lot of money, man. It is a lot of money for. I'd be tempted, but if we do, please Tottenham have a plan of who we're going to replace him with beforehand. Let's not wait for something to happen, get rid of a player, and then be like, oh, by the way, we need to go and get a centre back and waste 2 seasons to get a replacement. But at 70 million, it's hard to say no, man. It's hard. It's a
Stel?
lot.
No, I wouldn't sell him because I know what's going to happen. We're going to do what we did with Richarlison and Brennan and waste the money. We're going to spend 15 million signing Timo Werner, which leaves us 55 million. And the other 55 will go and sign fucking Lloyd Kelly. I know what's going to happen. I don't want that. No. I'd keep Romero. I'd keep him. And I think Romero, since he's kind of got his head straight, he's not getting red cards, he's not getting bookings. I think Romero is actually playing well. I think he's a different type of defender to what I think some fans want him to be. But I think he's playing well. I'd keep him, personally speaking. But if fans want him out, I kind of...
Don't get me wrong. I'm not. I wouldn't. My opinion isn't that with 70 million get rid of him. You got to sell him. I don't think. I think it will be that. It's the club that I think is coming in for him. It's got that much pull that I don't think you can say no to him.
I think it will be Madrid or Barca or someone like that.
I think it's Madrid. I think he's earmarked for Madrid.
If he goes, we must sign Tapsoba. Because he's looking
absolutely.
so freaking good, right? At least then you could say, hold on, this is at least...
If you're Tapsoba, why are you leaving Bayer Leverkusen, who are about to win the German league, to play for Tottenham? I'm just asking a question. Would you?
Yeah, you're not. But I'm just saying maybe the club will be tempted by that kind of money. I don't know how rich Bayer Leverkusen are, but you're right. If you're Tapsoba, you've got Champions League football guaranteed. If Alonso stays there as well, the only way you'd leave them is if Alonso leaves as well at the end of the year. Then he might think, okay, I've done my bit here. We're not going forward now.
He's going to buy.
Everyone wants to play in the Premier League. If he wins the league over there, and let's be honest, Alonso's going, man. He wins that league, his job is complete. There, it's done. Moves on to something else. He will probably think, you know what? It's a good opportunity for me to go to the Premier League. And again, trampoline Tottenham will be there to put him in a window. To then eventually do the same again, play 2-3 years with us, and then he'll be looking to move on somewhere else. It's just annoying that we cannot, and this is not me having a go, man. History.
He's not gone yet. He's not gone yet. He's not gone.
No, but history tells us that this is what we're about. We bring in players at good price, from different clubs. And then we establish them into like superstars, and then we say, off you pop, give us 100 million, and then we do the same thing all over again. We're not here to make them winners at our club. Yeah. Because we're not set up in that way from top to bottom. We're not.
When's his contract run out? He's been there a few years now, hasn't he? So is it a 4-year contract he was on?
I'll tell you what, shall we have a look, shall we?
No one's been mentioning it about the summer or him in the summer, so I've got a feeling it's probably 2026, maybe 27.
Let's have a look. Christian Romero on transfer market. His contract is up in... Come on, tell me his contract. His contract is up in 2027. He's got 3 years left.
So usually what happens is if you hear of any talk about extending a contract early with your current club, then that's usually a sign that the club are preparing themselves for big money.
Yeah.
It's usually how it works, isn't it?
And just before we move on, just so anyone knows my opinion, I would 100% bite your hand off for 70 million for Romero. I don't think he's anything special at all. I think there's much better players out there probably for half the price. But that's just me.
Well,
that's just me. 70 million is a lot. But I agree with the boys. I'm always worried about what we're going to sell, what we're going to spend it on. Guys, I want to move into the midfield that started against Wolves was Bissouma, Sarr and Maddison. It went back to the beginning of the season, three that had played really, really well. It seems to be an area of the pitch, guys, where for the first 5, 6, 7 games, you looked at it and went, God, we're really strong in midfield. Doesn't seem like we can get it right at the moment. It doesn't feel like there's enough players in there that are on form. It almost feels like he doesn't know what his best three in there is. And I wanted to know, I'll start with you, Iggy. How much of this do you think is down to the loss of form, should we say, of Bentancur? Now, I know he's coming back from a big injury, but he has lost all form. He looks awful at the moment. How much do you put that down to the kind of midfield area not clicking like it was at the beginning of the season?
Do you know what? We've got a few players that, whatever the reasons, maybe different reasons, like Maddison, they just seem to have all gone to that same sort of drop of form. For me, Bentancur is in that 6, what Maddison is in that 10. It's like almost like a mirror image. He starts like the creativity from in front of our defense. And it's like our possession when they're ticking over, our possession is really good. And these two guys are really good on the ball. They have the full picture. I love having them. Like Bentancur doesn't run. He's like glides, doesn't he? And our transition from defense to attack with him in there is so much more fluid, so much more better. Which, listen, for me, having players that having perhaps a phase of not in form, there's two options. Do we persist or do we put them on the bench? For me, players like Bentancur, players like Maddison, I'd play them all the time. I'll play him until they get themselves in form. I don't think our midfield can do without Bentancur. He offers us something that no other midfielders can give us. So for me, out of Bissouma and Bentancur right now, I'd be more inclined to play Bentancur. No taking away Bissouma. I think Bissouma is a great, good player. But out of the two, I would persist with him. Sarr has a bags on it. Out of all the midfielders, he seems to be the one that the box to box energy, covers a lot of ground, and he's in a good moment as well. I think the AFCON done him well as well. I know he didn't go all the way, but he did well out there. So he's carried that form into it. And Maddison is our creative spark. He has to play because we have no one else there, first and foremost. And two, we brought him there to do what he needs to do. And again, by playing him, I believe we'll get him. So those will be my 3 right now. I think the least changes that we can make, the better. I think when you're not having players that are not informed, because we don't really have a lot of midfielders that we can say, apart from Sarr, that's hitting, that's doing it right now. I think by continuously changing the trio, I don't think you get any momentum going. I think we have to right now stabilize things, play those 3 that you think right now are my boys, and then that's not to exclude anyone else. They will come in eventually. But I think if we could just add a bit more stability, the way we did with our defense at the beginning of the season, I think that was part of the obviously defensively you have to stop conceding 2 goals a game, but we need to start somewhere. And I think that core spine, I think we need to solidify it for the next 3 or 4 games to say these are going to be my players moving forward. And I think also we have to look at the number 9 as well. I'll include that in that spine. We have to offer something different than Richarlison. I know he's scored a lot of goals. I know he's on the purple patch, but I think Son needs to start playing in the middle again. I think if we can get that in the next 3 or 4 games, I think we'll be all right.
Sorry, Lee, I'm going to come to you. We'll move to Son. We'll move to the Son conversation in a second. But Lee, what do you make of the whole midfield 3? Because again, looking at the chat, lots of people, some really rate Bissouma, some don't. Some think Bentancur's never going to be the same. Some think he's class but needs time. What would you do with that middle 3?
I think the Wolves game for me, I was excited to see our midfield back from the Wolves game, from what we had before that. And I think for me, it's just solidified in my mind that in the summer, that's got to be another area that we need to look at. I don't think we've got a number 6. We've got too many 8s and a 10. And that showed for the goal. You look at Bissouma's backtracking to Gomez was just poor. He didn't do enough to cut him off. And I think I hate to say this, but I think the only player that we've actually got, I might have nicked this from someone else, but we all agreed on this, that really the only number 6 that we have is Højbjerg, that can play in that type of role. But the problem with him is that then he doesn't have the technical ability to play through the lines like someone like Bissouma does. So I think for the time being, I think the way to sort of level that out was to play Bentancur in that role with Sarr and Maddison. But then moving up to Maddison, the most creative player in the last few games, everyone's been saying, he's not looking back to his best. He doesn't look fit enough yet. I don't necessarily think it's that. I think it's when you've got a creative player, you have to have players around him that understands what he's going to do to make him creative, right? You've got to make runs and stuff like that. For me, when he plays with Richarlison in that number 9, he tries to be as creative as he can, but he's not got someone there that's doing what the likes of Son and that can do. So for me, Son has got to go. Richie's had his time. He's done good in 8 games against those, what did you call it, Stel? Bottom of the table team or lower level teams.
Bottom 8.
But we've got Arsenal, Man City, Villa coming up. For me, Son has got to go back up top ASAP and get back into that creative partnership with Maddison to get them both. And I think they both need it. And that for me is the biggest problem with Maddison. It's great being creative, but if you haven't got an outlet to put those ball through to, which I say it again, Richie doesn't make those runs. He can't control the ball. He's back to the goal too much. I think it's going to be like that until that changes. But this is another issue I have. We can all see that, but if in our game against Crystal Palace, I'm fully expecting Maddison Son to start in that spine. If Richarlison starts there again, I'm having to start thinking what on earth is Ange thinking, keeping him up there.
Yeah, I mean, Stel, let me come to you because just before I do, one thing that I'm thinking is how have we only got 126 likes and there's 365 of you in here? Jesus Christ, people, smash that like button. You've just got to, it's free. It's really, really free and it really does help YouTubers. Please also go and subscribe to Tottenham Away and subscribe to myself. We've had a few subscribers tonight. It is pinned in the chat as we're chasing down 13.2k. So please do that for me. Stel, is what we've seen so far this season, is it highlighting a massive need for an out-and-out defensive midfielder? Somebody, I don't care whether they're a Kante type or they're a Rodri type, but is the midfield highlighting that we've got no one that actually has a firm job of protecting that back four?
I think the entire midfield needs to be rebuilt. I pretty much agree with Lee. We've got 1-6, 1-10, and we've got 5 players that play in the 8. So you've got Højbjerg as the 6, who's perfect for Conte and Mourinho, an enforcer, breaks up the play, releases it. But for a team that wants to play the way we do, he's a disaster. He just can't play this system. So you've got a 6. He's the only 6 at the club, but he doesn't suit the way we play. Then you've got Skip, Bissouma, Lo Celso, Sarr, and Bentancur, who I think are all number 8s. Thing is, Skip hasn't got the speed of play. Bissouma, he ends up playing in the 6. You've got Lo Celso, who seems to play better as a 10 when he's not injured. You've got Pape Sarr, who's got the engine but not the techers. And then you've got Bentancur, who hasn't played in a year. And then you go to the number 10, Maddison. He's the only proper out-and-out number 10 in this club. And you see it when he's on it, you can tell. That whole midfield is unbalanced. It needs stripping. And really, we need 2 new number 6s. You need a new number 10 and probably at least and 1 new number 8 if you're going to go with Bentancur. And then what the midfield then have the problem is when they're feeding the ball forward, as soon as Richarlison touches the ball, the play breaks up. Twice we're on the attack against Wolves and there was a simple pass to the left and you're saying, Richie, if you play that in, we've got them. We've got them. Surely you can see it. And he fumbles the ball and passes it straight to a Wolves player. And you're like, what are you doing? That's abysmal. There was another moment where we attacked and the pass is on and he misplaces the pass. You're not going to get lots and lots of these moments. So when they come, you've got to get it right. And it always breaks down with him. And the one time he got into space edge of the box, when the midfield did get the ball to him, edge of the box, he takes a long-range shot. He slips over the ball and the ball nearly kills someone in the south stand. And you're like, this is shit. It's just not good enough. So For me, the midfield, I think it needs rebuilding. I don't look. Skip isn't going to suit this system. Højbjerg's not going to suit this system. I think we've got to have a serious question about Lo Celso and Bissouma. And I'm talking about consistencies and injuries here. If Lo Celso's always going to be injured, you've got to get rid of him. If Bissouma's going to be inconsistent, or he's going to keep playing in the 6, he's not going to play in the 8, then we've got to think about replacing him as well. So I've just mentioned 3 to 4 midfielders that might not cut it for, well, they probably don't cut it for what we're doing.
Yeah, it's levels, isn't it? It's do we want to be a team that finishes 4th, 5th, or do we want to be a team that keeps pace with Liverpool
What is
City?
the plan? What is the plan?
But Iggy,
every year
so
we
can I
this.
just point out very quickly? Do you remember when we bought Bissouma? Right, it was that one game where he basically bossed us when he was playing for Brighton. That basically said we're going to buy him.
Yeah.
And do you remember? I vividly remember watching that game, and he was so much further up the pitch.
He paid his
than where we're playing him now.
He paid his
that's the player we bought, but we're playing him out of position. He's not a deep line midfielder, and I think he gets caught out too much. I mean, the amount of how many times has he been caught on the edge of our box?
No,
sort of sleeping, losing the ball.
I agree. I agree, Lee. I think the key thing for me is when we have these conversations, and don't get me wrong, I wasn't expecting everything to be solved in the summer before people say, oh, he's only been here 9 months or whatever. But I just think as we move forward, the difficult conversations have to happen. I think Stel approaches that difficult conversation well. If you say to anybody, Bentancur, Bissouma, oh my God, they're brilliant. Well, they're not brilliant. There's some good footballers there, but you've got to keep getting better and better and better and better. So for me, I think, I'm not saying get rid of any of them, but I agree with Stel. For me, something's got to happen in that midfield area in the summer. And I'll chuck in there as well, guys, that next year we're going to be in Europe. We can't go into Europe with one playmaker if we're going to continue playing this way. You can't go into Europe with no DM. These European teams will pick us apart. So for me, I think the whole thing needs to be looked at in the summer, if I'm brutally honest.
The thing is that the way we want to play is very evident, very high line, fullbacks are very attacking. So yeah, the holding midfielder becomes very, very important in that scenario. But also every player, doesn't matter where they play, because of the high line and the fact that we play inside our opponent's half, and also with the low block, you need players that have a deadly first touch. Every single player needs to have a deadly first touch, but also they've got to play quick in small spaces, because that's how much room you have in your opponent's half. When you've got everyone back, you can have up to 21 players in that half, because that's how high up we play. So everyone's got to be bang on it. Like literally, a touch has got to be basically got to play in and out of little spaces, knock it out wide, dragging players out of position. So everyone's got to be wicked on a first touch. We don't have, and Lee, I think I alluded to that earlier on, we don't have everyone on that wavelength as yet. So, and you're right, it seems like there's an imbalance still in our squad. It's got better from what it was, but it's still not quite balanced in certain parts of it. So, listen, if we're going to stick it out with this manager, at least, I feel like I've had this conversation with Mourinho, with Conte, and I'm going to have it with Ange as well. Support the guy that you've brought in at the club. Otherwise, what was the point? What was the point on all of this? So it's just like, this season is, like I said, it's year one. If we can make Champions League football, fair enough. If it's second season, no, man. I think that was, you're right. When Europe comes into play, that's where Ange will be judged. And he said too, judge me after the second season.
Mm-hmm.
Listen, my question mark is always on one area, and I don't want to get into it on your channel, but it always stems there, doesn't it? We all know where it all stems from, and it's like, show us something. That's all I ever say. Show us something.
Listen, before we get to Son, I just wanted to look at this comment. If I can get YouTube, really is either YouTube or StreamYard is lagging for me massively. There you go. Paul Connor said, do you think our lack of games this year Oh, sorry, it's so lagging for me. Do you think our lack of games this year has had an effect on match fitness and getting momentum going? Lee, this is interesting, right? Because we are constantly having 2 weeks off. We now got 2 weeks off now. You've got one game a week. Do you put any water into that? Do you think that there's anything in that?
I don't think so. I don't think so. I think they should be more prepared when the games come around after some time to not be as tired, right? Because that's the issue when you have a lot more games, is the fatigue. Yeah. We shouldn't have fatigue. We shouldn't have issues. I think the injuries have stemmed from maybe overworking in training. But then you're doing that to prepare you for games. But I don't think it's had an effect necessarily.
It would would it have not affect the players that are playing the least? Because obviously, where you're not having a massive turnover of games, you can't rotate as much, and not everyone's getting the same amount of minutes. So basically, someone like Maddison will get, say, Skip, for example. He isn't getting anywhere near the amount of games as perhaps Spencer and Bissouma are, because there's not a lot of games for us to rotate enough for everyone to get minutes. So no, the 11 that are regular in, they're getting plenty of game time. It's probably the one or two that probably not playing as much. So say if you got your back four, the likes of Emerson, Davis, and Dragusin, they're not getting any game time, so they will suffer more than the four that actually are playing. That's how I see it. But if we do get into Europe, that will change, because there will be a lot more turnover, more rotation. But we need to up the squad to allow us not only to play everyone, but also to do well in those different competitions. And we certainly want to do better in domestic cups next season. I don't want to see a repetition of the Fulham going out of Fulham in August.
Yeah, I mean, Stel, I think you were along the same lines as Lee. I mean, look, they're going to get their wish, because next season, hopefully we have a better run in the cups, and we will be in Europe in some way, shape or form. So we're going to see what we're made of still when we're playing, I don't know, Wednesday, Saturday or Thursday, Sunday, whatever we're doing. It's going to be interesting how we switch to that. But still, I want to start with you on the last topic of the night.
Savva, I just want to answer that question, if you don't mind, about have we a lack of games, right?
Yeah, go for it.
For me, it's a categoric no. Arsenal last year had no Europe. They crashed out the cups, identical to what Spurs have done this year. They were in a title race. Up until the last 2-3 games, they were in a title race. How did they do it? I'll tell you how they did it. They had two of the best wide players in the league in terms of performance last year, Martinelli and Saka.
Yeah.
We've got Turbo Wiener and Brennan Johnson. They had Odegaard, who was one of the players of the season. We've got Maddison, who's been injured for half the season. They had Partey, who had the best season. Between him and Rodri, they were the two best DMs in the league last year. We don't know what we're doing with our number 6. And they had Granit Xhaka, who had the season of his life, and he's on the brink of winning the Bundesliga with Bayer Leverkusen. We don't know what we're doing with the number 8.
Yeah.
Quality players is the simple answer to that question. It's got nothing to do with how many games. It's players stepping up when it matters. So for me, we just, the quality is not there at Spurs. Like, we can delude ourselves and say, oh yeah, but he'll come good, but he had a good game against Crystal Palace. Quality. We lack quality. We've got it, but not enough of it. We don't.
But don't you think that the link between the board, what's the Brazilian that's also in charge? Edu? Is it Edu?
Yeah.
Edu and Arteta. Isn't there like a really nice link there? It might not be the best, but certainly there's a clear link between those three to the players that they want to bring in.
Last year was year 3 of their plan. Right? We are in month 6. It's a case of where we've got, as much as I hate saying this, we do need to judge it in a couple of years' time. That's the reality of it.
We do need to judge it in a couple of years' time. But the thing is, what we can judge is we can judge as actions happen. So, look, listen, we can. I think the same of any. I hate using this. Any project, anything like that in business, you can set a milestone, Stel, that you want to judge the end date, but you can judge where you're certain points. And for me, I look at I look at signings like Werner, signings like Johnson, and I look and I think they're not good indicators for me. That's not good indicators that this is the level of player that we want to bring into the football club. But just quickly, we're going to move on to the last thing. Before we do, smash the like button, you tight people. And NA, listen, if we get into the Champions League, Levy will open his wallet this summer even more. NA, I must have heard this sentence for decades. And the problem seems to be, if we're brutally honest, I don't know if anyone on the panel will agree with me, I don't think it's about Levy opening his wallet. Spurs tend to spend in windows. It's about not buying 8 or 9 and buying 3 or 4 of quality. It's the Q word again. So for me, it's never about does he open his wallet? It's about what are we spending it on? But that's just me. Guys, last subject. Son. Came back from the Asian Cup. Had a brilliant cameo to set up the goal for Brennan Johnson against Brighton. Absolutely anonymous the week after. I'm not saying anyone else was any good, but anonymous the week after. I'm going to say it. Unless it is a starring role off the bench, I don't want to see him on the left wing. For me, we are missing a massive trick, having him through the middle, through balls from Maddison. His touch and control is better than Richarlison's. With that in mind, do you guys agree? And if you do agree, what do we then do against Palace with our wide men?
I agree. I think we get much more as good as Richie's done, and the one goal, which was a great goal at Everton. I think we get much more opportunity with Son in the number 9, not only with players coming around the back and cutting it back, but also balls going through the defence that he can get at the end of. I think if he offers you, 10 chances and he puts away 2 of them, where Richie gets 1 tapping chance and he takes it, I think you put him up front, because I think he dropped off a little bit. Obviously, we know about the injury in that last year and what he was going through and stuff. Definitely a drop off on the left hand side, but I think in the last match, I certainly think he did more than we've seen Timo Werner do in the last couple of matches out on that wing. And you could see that he was playing, and I hate to say this as well, you could see that him and Ben Davies had an understanding. And what I say about that, if you look at every time that Son received the ball in that position, every single time Davies was trying to go around the outside of him and get round to give him an option to pass through, which Timo just doesn't seem to do, or he's, we're not getting passes. So I think he did better. But for me, Palace, it's got to be back to him as number 9. If it means Richie's on the bench, he's on the bench. It's as simple as that.
So then what do you do with our 2 wide men?
So that's a struggle for me. So I think... I still think...
I think it's a struggle for everyone, Lee.
Well, listen, I know I hate to say it, but I think you've got to start Coglou on the right if Son's through the middle. And that brings me to the left. And for me, I think because it's probably the only option, either you start Timo or you start Johnson in that position and or swap them, and then half time, swap them around or whatever you need to do. I think that's the only option we've got at the moment. I think the way that he was playing beforehand, Solomon was a better option, but he's obviously injured. So if he's not back, then there's not much you can do. I think it's got to be one of those 2 on the left. And if Timo's been playing there, then you just suggest that Timo would start. So I'm saying Timo, Son and Coglou as a front 3.
Iggy, centre forward, you want to see Son there? If it is it Werner and Coglou? Does that put the fear of God into teams?
No, listen, whichever trio you put there, I still think we need to massively do a lot better in the market in terms of wingers. I like wingers to a little bit more, with arrows, a little bit more. I like wingers who engage the fullbacks, encourage one-on-one. So, when I look at players like Neto on a weekend, that's the kind of the mindset that I see in a winger. Yeah, a bit dynamic, especially on the right hand side. The left hand side can offer a little bit of different variation. You know, can come on the inside and go on the outside. But on the right, I really want my winger to be really direct and engage the fullback and skin him at every opportunity possible. So that said, I agree with Lee in terms of Son playing in the middle. I think quality players are on the same wavelength. It would, I think, following the subject that he said about how it would help Maddison's game with someone at least within his vicinity that has the same understanding. Also, Son seems to make the right runs. So what? Not this. This is the thing that Son does that goes really underrated. Son makes unselfish runs. Not always to receive the ball, but he makes the runs to allow Maddison to then go into the space and to attack the space that Son's just freed up for him. That's what he does really well as well. And plus, Son in front of goal is a lot more deadly. But that's the thing. It limits you what you can do in the wide area. Who's going to play on the left-hand side? Kulu prefers the right-hand side, and Johnson's not quite there yet. So you have to go with Timo because out of the ones that you've got available, he's the one that can play better. I actually think his movement is really good. He's quick. It's just that final ball, that decisive moment, and what to the fruit, the icing on the cake of the run he's just made doesn't seem to get it together. It's frustrating, but he's the best. Right now is the best option on the left hand side. On the right hand side, listen, no one's created more opportunities for the forwards than Kulusevski. Now he's chipped in with the goals. He's not my in my ideology of a right winger, given what I've just said, but he's still the best option that we have. So Kulu there, man. Lascelles and players like that, I don't know what's going to happen with him because it's frustrating. But yeah, those to me right now become the free option, unless you want to put Richarlison back out and left again.
Yeah, I mean, Stel, talk to me about the forward three. Talk to me about Sonny replacing Richarlison, and is that harsh on Richarlison if he was to be dropped? Do you put Richarlison left? What would you do for Palace?
Against Palace, I'll play Richarlison up front because that's the game that he scores in. They're the bottom 8 teams that he scores against. What you don't do is play him against a mid-table team or even in the top 10. But his record proves itself. These are the games he scores the goals in, and everyone gets excited about and thinks he's amazing and says, "Oh, look, he's on double digits now." All right, and then he'll go missing against Man City, Wolves, Brighton. All the teams that are mid-table and above. He just goes missing. So I'd start him. I'd start him up front. I'd play Rich Son on the left and Kul on the right. I think that's the best we've got. And that's what I do against Palace. What I don't want to see is Timo Werner and Brennan Johnson. I think they stink. Can't believe they're at the club. I don't like them as football players. I think, I'm not going to go into it because I'll end up ranting. But look, maybe Timo and Brennan come on and get a goal and an assist because actually they do quite well against the bottom 8 as well. Brennan Johnson actually does very well against the bottom 8. That's the level
you watch Timo Werner and Brennan Johnson to do something half decent against Palace, and everyone go, "Oh, see, they're brilliant," and you're in the mud.
And then they start against Aston Villa, and people wonder why we don't get the result at Villa Park.
Still, can I throw something out there?
It's interesting.
Yeah, go for it.
Right, we had this discussion on Monday, and if I'm honest, if someone asked me what formation does Ange play, I'm still a bit confused how to answer it. But given that, some of the better teams, that let's just break it down as a 4-3-3, right? If we've always said really you need 3 front goal scorers. It's not about 1 striker and 2 wingers. It's about 3 people at the front that can score goals. Could you see it working? And I'm gonna drop a bombshell in here as well. If it was more of a conventional 4-3-3 with those wingers making up the numbers up front, fullbacks making up the numbers up front, could you see an argument for actually playing Maddison, Son and Kulu as the front 3, Højbjerg as a number 6, and then Bentancur and Bissouma as the other 2 number 8s in the midfield? Do you think that would work?
Yeah, but then you want the number 9 to drop and feed.
Yeah, but you'd have a front in front, like almost like a Liverpool front three, like Salah.
But the number 9 at Liverpool dropped and fed in the 2 wide attackers, right?
Why couldn't Son do that? He's got the ability to play those balls through. Maddison's got the ability to take on players.
Because Son's our best finisher. So you want him to be on the end of the balls, no?
But in those two situations where you've got Coglou and Madders in a more of advanced position, I think they're just as good finishers, or can be, as Son is.
I'd play Madders in the 9 and then he drops.
Or in that kind of situation.
Yeah, doesn't that then take all our creativity away from midfield? Like I feel like if you bought a number 10 like James Maddison and then you stick him out on the left, I feel like you alienate the best part of his game, which is getting his head up and playing those through balls. That's just me.
Yeah, but you're not sticking him in. It's not sticking him out on the left. You're making a front three, as in an 18.
Who's the closest
three, not wide players?
Who's the closest player we've got to Firmino?
Harry Kane.
We haven't got.
I don't think we have.
Harry Kane. Yeah. Some lad in.
Huh? This season, who have we got? Who's the closest to Firmino?
We ain't got a player like Firmino, man.
No, the closest
false number 9.
Then you can't. Then there's your.
Do it, man.
Then you can't play this.
You have to go. You have to go and get him.
You can't play it. You can't. There's your answer, Lee. You can't.
So what formation do we actually play then? Because I thought Ange played a 4-3-3.
4-2-3-1. 4-2-3-1.
What Ange does is we play 4-3-3, but the shape changes on the attack. What he's constantly trying to do is he's trying to get 3 against 2, whether it's in the wide areas, wide, high, in the middle. He's always trying to get. That's why sometimes you'll see Romero really high up, and you'll see one fullback up and the other one deep. He just wants to get 3-on-2 scenarios. That's what he's trying to create. The issue we've got is as soon as it goes wide, it collapses. That this team has no width. So it inverts, and that inversion makes it very compact. So if the other team is fairly disciplined, we're stuck.
Yeah, do you know? I think that this is the key thing for me. I think that the way we play almost stops us trying anything inventive like that. And I think this guy's got it spot on. If you were going to have Maddison, whether you want to call it from the left or tucking in just on the left channel, I think that works when you've got someone flying down the left. But we don't do that. We put Udogie and Porro inside. And that's where I think a lot of our play...
This is exactly what Davis was doing against Wolves. Son was coming in more rather than being stuck out on the left. And you could see him. You watch it. He did it about 5 or 6 times. So Son was coming in a little bit more. He wasn't as wide. And Davis was going out the outside. So it was almost like they were doing that exact thing. Whereas I get it. Udogie does the complete opposite. He completely goes on the inside rather than the outside. So I don't know. I was just a thought coming into my head.
It worked for us when you had Perisic in pre-season and for the Burnley game, who can actually put a ball in the box, who can actually get to the byline and pull it back. In fact, Kula was doing that. He was getting to the byline. Now, like, we literally have no winger like that. Like, there's not one player at the club like that. The closest is Son, but then even he's not someone that's going to cross it in the air. He's better on the ground, like he did for the winner against Brighton. So this is why I'm bemused. Why Brennan Johnson and Timo Werner at the club? It makes no sense, like none.
Yeah, listen, I completely agree with you. Listen, I am going to end it there. Just before we do, I absolutely love this person's positivity. I really, really do. Apparently, Ange is going to open his wallet more because of Ange Postecoglou. Sorry, Levy's going to open his wallet more for Ange Postecoglou. Levy was desperate to have a manager he can trust. So not serial winners like Conte and Jose. No, not people that have won Champions Leagues and Premier Leagues. Ange is the driving force to better players coming in the summer. Is that why we signed Brennan Johnson and Timo Werner? He knows the squad must be improved. Listen, I hear things. I think you all agree with me, guys, right? We hear this sort of thing every time a new manager comes in, don't we? I think we heard this. Conte, he loves Conte. Oh, Jose, he always wanted Jose. It was his number one choice. Poch has got him Champions League final. He's going to. It doesn't matter who's in charge, does it? We kind of know. We kind of know what's happening.
I just think if
if
Levy was going to back Ange, we would not have brought in Timo Werner. I'm telling you now. Like, go watch Timo Werner. Right, 9 out of 10 crosses. 9 out of 10 crosses, he smashes it at your kneecaps. It literally comes. It's knee height. It's not in the air. It's not on the ground. It's knee height. It's like the most abysmal level for anyone to control a ball. Go watch. That's 9 out of his 10 crosses are like that. He's got no goals in him. Doesn't score any goals. Like, is that what backing Ange is? NA is that what backing Ange is? I don't understand.
It's always next summer, though, isn't it? It's always, don't worry about that summer. This summer, look, Wilson, NA. Do you know what? The thing is, what I love about comments like this, I want it to be right.
Yeah, 100%.
I want to get to the summer and go, I can't believe who we've just signed. But then when I'm seeing us letting Harry Kane go, which we knew was happening, and you're thinking, right, they've known he's going. They've known he's going for months, right? Ange said it in as many words. So did Levy, so did Kane. They knew he was going. And you're thinking, right, okay, once that deal's done, surely there's someone coming in. And then when you see it's Brennan Johnson and you go, yeah, that's back in a like, and then the flip side to that is if it's not leaving, Levy said, hey, here's 50 million, go and buy a player. And Ange said, Brennan Johnson's my guy. Then I question Ange. So, you've got to, I don't know where it sits with that. I don't know where it sits. But
let me ask you a question, right? The way we play football, who's a better second choice to Udogie? Ben Davies or Reguilon?
For me, Reguilon, just because he's younger.
Well, like the season we actually had him, he was the second best crosser of the ball in the Premier League, right? And he gets up the pitch. He's got pace. Defensively, he's a shambles. We know that. Defensively, he gets caught out. He's flimsy. He gets knocked off the ball.
But we had him. We let him go. We had him now.
Going forward, he was like a proper out-and-out fullback. Defending, it was like watching Brian Hill on the ball. At any moment, he's going to fall over. Right. I just question the way we play, not who's a better overall player. The way we play, Ben Davies makes no sense to me. When you had Reguilon. And for Seville, he won the Europa Cup playing exactly the way we want a fullback to play. I don't get it.
But we brought him back from Man United and then sent him out to Brentford. So we had him. So it's clearly something about him that is.
I'm not saying he's the answer.
No, Iggy.
Until we get the answer. Simple. Ben Davies represents 9 years of.
I thought you were going to break out into song then. Ben Davies. I
think that should be a song in the stadium. The Ben Davies song. I think. Look, I think you're right, Stel. The fact that we still see players like Ben Davies and Emerson Royale lining up for Spurs tells me nothing has changed yet.
We're not there yet. We're not there.
If it does change, then those players can't be lining up for Spurs next year. I don't want to hear, but they're really good squad players, and they're not. Look, I always talk about the Q word. If anyone ever watches my shows enough, I always talk about the Q word. For me, I think Spurs have got some good players. And this question I saw, I want to answer to wrap up the show. Let's see if I can find it. It's, I bet I can't find it now. Somebody asked about Kulusevski, saying, what do I think of him? That he's still, here we go. Frankie said, big up Frankie. Hope you're well, mate. I said, do you guys think Kulu is good enough? I still think he's young, and I think he's good enough, unlike Brelin, Solomon, or Werner. And my answer to this, guys, is it's the same as anything. I think Kulu does a job. I don't think he's a bad footballer. I think he's a good footballer. But I'll ask you again, does Kulu get into any of the teams that we are chasing down?
No.
Kulu just frustrates me.
They have 5 forwards better than Kulu. Man City have all of theirs better. Arsenal, I wouldn't take him over Trossard, Martinelli, Saka, Jesus. This is the difference for me. We've got some players that are good, but that's that level, right? Does this make sense? If you then want to go there to compete, I'm not even talking about there and winning. There to compete, you've got to start bringing in quality around that. You've got to, for me.
Do you know what's frustrating about Kulu? Out of all our wide players, he's probably one of the only ones that can actually beat a man. And you saw it for the goal he scored. He took the ball off Richie, beat one man, goalie comes out, nutmegs him. He's got that in him. Kulu can dribble. Kulu is a dribbler. The issue is, because no one else in the team dribbles in the wide areas, he stands out. That's why I think he starts a lot of games. Brennan Johnson, I mean, he's that kid at school that had no skills, that just hit it ahead of everyone and just turned it into a foot race.
Yeah.
Because he had no skill. Timo, I'm not speaking again. I've done enough. Brian Hill, you blow, he drops. And then the other winger, Solomon's injured. And then who else have we got? Is that all the wingers?
Brian Hill's like an overexcited chihuahua, isn't he? He's just like one of those yappy dogs. He's like, like that all the time when you see him move. But Kulu just frustrates me. He's got the potential to do well on that wing. And I think I've said this 100 times. He's so predictable that he just needs to change his game. I think he's 23.
Let's check.
24.
He's 23. He's 20. He's 24 next month.
He just frustrates me. I think I said it again. I think he does more when he actually takes it outside on his right foot than he does when he cuts it on his left foot. And I think he's one of the better players at doing that, and then getting to the line and then cutting it back in. And he just doesn't do it. He might do it once every couple of games, but the rest of the time he cuts in. He's not dynamic enough.
Is he dynamic enough to really, really hurt teams week in, week out? That's the question I ask of any. If he changes,
if he stopped consistently doing the same thing every time he gets the ball, because people know exactly what he's going to do, then no, he's doing the same thing. He's become too predictable. If he kept changing it up like we've seen him do, and he's really good at it, then I think it's just mentality. He's got the skill to do it, just doesn't execute it enough.
Do you know what's frustrating? He's like Bissouma. If you look at the first 10 games of this season, we were so excited by Bissouma's performances. We're like, this is a player. You see what happens when Conte's not manager? When you put an attacking manager, you see what you get at Bissouma. Now we're like, what's happened to Bissouma? When Kulu came under Conte, we were like, what? Are Juventus crazy? You don't want this player. Yeah. He was ripping it up on the counter-attack. Now we're saying, what's happened to Kulu? There's no consistency with Kulu and Bissouma. They don't have consistency. And that's
still, isn't this the thing of most players? This is the difference for me when we're talking about that quality word again. Quality players, more often than not, are consistently good.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Whereas good players can have great patches of form, but will more often than not be consistently okay. I think there's the difference for me and I think Spurs have littered the squad with a lot of those types rather than, that's quality. Do you know what I mean? Like, I look at potential. Yeah. So I think listen, by the way, I think we're having a good year, by the way. Before anyone messages me and says, I think we're having a good year, my query straight away goes to, in 13 games time, I don't know how many hours of football that is, by the way. Somebody will be able to tell me, I don't know, what, about 19 hours more of football this season, right? Please be good maths. About 19 hours more of football, right? We're in a transfer window, guys. The transfer window is coming back around. And I just hope that this is the year where we go, hats off. I really do. And that's that.
If we get Champions League.
Unless the mentality of this club changes, because you got those three at the top, three ahead of us are playing a league of their own. They're literally playing a league of their own.
Yeah.
And then you got the Man United and Chelsea that proper underperforming. Maybe Newcastle in there as well.
United will be back next year.
They're going to be back. So then you'll have even more competition for those spots above where we are right now.
They're not going anywhere.
So you ask yourself this: what bracket are we in? So if you take Aston Villa and put them where Man United are, then and you add maybe Chelsea back into that, we fall into that bracket where currently we have Brighton, Newcastle, West Ham. That's the bracket that we're in, guys. Just that's where we're in. So if we're going to play in that bracket, then we're doing all right, man. We're doing all right as we are. But if how you guys see it, you want to see Tottenham in the bracket where Villa currently is now, Arsenal, man. If that's where you want to see Villa, if that's where you want to see Tottenham right now, we're miles away from that. We're a million miles away. We don't have the mentality to even be competing in those spaces. We don't have the ambition to be dreaming in those places where you guys want to be in. But where Tottenham are right now, and where I see the club seeing Tottenham right now, is exactly where they are now. Mm-hmm. If you're not happy with that, I might not be happy with that, but the club, I think they're all right with that.
Yeah, because I think
that's the bracket we're at. Where we are now, that's the bracket, man.
We're only 2 points better than Conte's team last year, same time, and Conte had Europe as well. I'm not saying Conte's the answer. I'm just saying if we compare 2 seasons, Conte had more games.
I don't think that's bad.
But Conte
with
had
the manager never done it at the top level.
Kane, but Conte also had Eric Dyer.
It's not bad. I don't think it's bad.
If you put Chelsea,
my point is, I don't think anything's changed.
Still, my point is, if you put Man United where Aston Villa is right now, which is probably where they're going to be next season, and then you put Chelsea where Spurs are right now, we are in that bracket with Brighton, Newcastle, West Ham. That's where we are, guys. Whether we like it or not, that's where we are. That's the area that competes us.
No, we are. No,
unless we do something drastically to put us in touch with the likes of Arsenal.
Yeah, but Iggy,
forget
you're
Man City and Liverpool.
Iggy, you're saying we're going to drop down to 7th.
We are in.
If we don't
change, and we stay as we are, where we are right now, we will be between that spot and where.
Yeah, but I think
Newcastle and West Ham are.
I think Spurs this summer will sign 2 really good players, 2 players where we think, okay, let's wait and see. We're not sure about them, and 2 players where we just think, really, is that it?
Do you think that's going to be enough to keep Man United, who are behind us?
No, it won't.
And Chelsea, you're going to stop them coming and overtaking you. Oh man, they're going to come.
And more importantly, do you think that's going to be enough to touch the bigger clubs at the top? Because what I was going to say is, and I do want to end the show in 2 minutes, but what I was going to say is, if you look at this table, I think what it shows massively is, look, we're a good team. Yeah, we're a good team, but it shows the golfing class. If you look at that gap now to Man City, to Arsenal, to Liverpool, if you look at the difference in the number of wins, if you look at the difference in the number of losses, if you look at the difference in the number of goals conceded, you start to see that's what you're making up, right? That's what you're making up over a season. Now, this was a season, I think you hit it the nail on the head, whoever said about Conte. This is a season as well, don't forget, where we're doing that with no Europe. We're 10 points off it. What are we at the moment? 13 points off Liverpool. That's with no Europe. Now chuck in an extra 6, 8, 10 European games. Now another 3 or 4 extra league and FA Cup games. There's so much to do. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is why I keep my feet on the ground and don't ever get carried away by Tottenham Hotspur Football Club. And if I had a microphone, I would drop it.
I agree with you 100%. I think we need 2 more big summer windows because we need between 10 to 12 new players. I can give you the 12 players now that need to be shipped out. I can read them out to you, no problem. Those 12 players need to be replaced with 12 new players. And those 12 players we're not going to get in one window. If we can get 6 or 5 this summer and 1 in January and do the same the following year, then we'll be ready to properly challenge for silverware. To be competitive, as you've said, we can do that by next season if we bring in those 6 in the summer and we get rid of those 6. But listen, we need to get rid of Emerson and Davies and Sessegnon. We need to get rid of Højbjerg and Skip, at least one of the midfielders. If Lo Celso is always going to be injured, he's got to go. We've got to get rid of Richarlison, Timo. Don't sign him on a contract. Get rid of Brennan Johnson. Richarlison I'd get rid of. Then you're looking at some of the youngsters we've signed. Are they going to make it? Are they going to make it?
Hang on, you're forgetting a few. Brian Hill, Tungo and Dombele. Joe Roden, Jaffet Tanganga.
13, 14. Right. So
15. Yeah, there's lots.
And my argument with Spurs fans is this. As long as they're around the club, they're going to get minutes. Because we're going to get injuries, we're going to get suspensions, and these players creep back in. As you saw on the weekend, we started with Emerson and Davies. If they're at the club, they will get game time. And if they get game time, it will cost us points. It will cost us wins. We can't have players at the club. Like, it's like when people said Timo Werner, he's low risk. If he's on the pitch and he costs us or he's part of the loss, that is a high risk. It's not a low risk. A low risk is when you sign a player and he impacts and he's helping you get results. Honestly, we need 12. There's still, how we still need 12 players out of this club is beyond me. I still don't know how. Every year we seem to need 12. Every year, 12. 12 have got to go. Another 12.
Because 12. We're shipping them out on loan, and at the end of that season, they're coming back. And Ndombele is coming back.
No, it's quite easy. It's because they're not good enough and no other team wants them.
And Ndombele is coming back. Brian Hill keeps coming back.
Can't wait.
Reguilon keeps coming back. Tanganga's coming back. I mean, when to stop? Tell me when to stop. All these players, we're shipping them out, but they're coming back. So it's just a yo-yo effect every year. They're coming back. It's like a fucking
of the ones on loan. Of the ones on loan coming back that need to go, you've got Jaffet Tanganga, Joe Roden, Serge Reguilon, Ndombele. Right? Look at those four.
I might have missed some. I might have missed or got this wrong. But
Belize are coming back.
Isn't Dyer also in there as well? Because they haven't.
No, he's on loan. He's on loan.
Yeah, but doesn't his contract end at the end of the season?
Yeah, it does. Yeah, he's right.
Yeah, so they'll just naturally let that fall away. Well,
maybe we're too nice. We might give him another contract.
Then you've got about 4 goalkeepers at the club who are never going to get a first team game as well, but are hanging around because they're English. Right? Look. By the way, when Angeball, when you say things like this, listen. I think no one's saying it's bad. What we're doing is saying. This isn't new, by the way. I think a lot of people are talking like what we're seeing now and being in a race for the top 4. We've done this plenty of times. This isn't new. This isn't anything amazing. What we're talking about now is, right, how do we then in the summer go to that next level? That's all it is. But guys,
sorry,
I do want to win.
Sorry, that comment, the last bit, we've got to realise we are making progress. Where's the progress? We crashed out the Carabao Cup in the first round. We crashed out the FA Cup in the second round. We're only 2 points better from last year at the same stage. Where is the progress?
Those 2 points.
Oh, right. Yeah, okay. Those 2 points. Yeah, it makes sense. Yeah, all adds up now. We are exactly as we were last season, except there's an illusion that we play really good football. And really, we played good football in half the games at the start of the season, the first 10, and now we have good patches. I don't see the progress yet. I think we're the same as last year.
Just quickly, before I end the show, dare I ask this in case it causes something? Who will you all be wanting to win the League Cup this Sunday? Liverpool versus Chelsea. Pochettino, another chance to win a trophy. He's had plenty of them at Tottenham. Now got another chance. Liverpool to win more trophies. What do you guys want to see, or what's the lesser of 2 evils this weekend?
Liverpool, man, all the way. Liverpool.
Yeah,
that's it. That's a no-brainer for me.
All right, Lee, Liverpool.
Oh, absolutely. We never live it down if Chelsea win it, will we?
I can only imagine, like, if Pochettino goes to Chelsea in year 1, has a really terrible league year, but still does that with a trophy at the end of the season.
It's not. Do you know what? It's not even for Pochettino. It's more because of my hatred towards Chelsea. Is far more than the one I have with to Liverpool. It's got nothing to do with a manager. I'd be happy for Pochettino, but I wouldn't be happy about how Chelsea winning it.
I'm torn on this one. I'm actually torn.
I can't see Chelsea winning it, man. I can.
I can't.
I can't. I can't see them win the game. I can't visually see them win a trophy in their worst season ever. They go and win a trophy, even in their worst season.
That's what they do. Though. I want I want Liverpool. Half of me wants Liverpool to win it because I hate Chelsea. I despise them. Everything about the club. I want them to get relegated, go bankrupt, get fined by UEFA, fined by the league, and shut down. So on that basis, I want Liverpool to win it. But the satisfaction I would get on social media to all the people that said to me, trophies aren't the priority, trophies aren't the most important thing, to see their meltdown and for me to individually reply to every one of them, why are you upset? Trophies aren't the priority. What do you care? The satisfaction I would get for all of them, that's quite a sad thing.
So basically,
really.
that's Stel's win-win situation right there, right?
Yeah. He's got a win-win.
One way or another, he's gonna.
It's gonna be an interesting cup final. But it's gonna be interesting.
The amount of shit I get for demanding silverware, for having high standards of, if we're a big club, then do big things. The amount of shit I get for that. If all those people suddenly went into a meltdown if Poch won it, do you know how much ammunition I would have? I'll be literally walking around just carpet bombing everything.
Is this even true, right? No Salah, no Jota. No Jota, no, but Salah and
Salah will be there.
Salah played the other night, didn't he? I'm sure he wasn't injured.
No, they were all injured last night. Right? They all missed last night.
Okay, so they're all going to be available, aren't they? Apart
but
from
Salah played the other day, didn't he?
No, Jota is definitely out. Jota is definitely out for months.
Jota and Nunes are out, but Salah will play. He rested him.
And Nunes didn't play either yesterday, so he's playing as well.
He's 50-50, I think, because he went off injured against Brentford.
Yeah,
he'll be all right.
Anyway, it's going to be interesting. I just can't. I don't know. I hate Liverpool.
Savva, can you bring up this comment here by Stay Humble? Right.
I knew you were going to bring this one up.
Listen, he's blocked from our channel. I couldn't care less. He's a piece of work, this one. Stel wants to dump on Spurs fans. No, I don't want to dump on them. I want to dump on fans who despise silverware as a priority. That's what I want. And the one specifically who targeted me for saying, I demand silverware. There's a difference. I like Spurs fans. Otherwise, I wouldn't go to the games every week and be surrounded by 60,000 of them.
And on that note, guys, thank you very much. Everyone in the chat, thank you very much. Please do smash the like button on your way out. Stay humble, mate. Can you just listen? If you don't like Stel, fine, but can you just hang on? Can you just no? Still, I don't want to go back and forth. Stay humble, please. Just drop it. If you don't like Stel, it's fine, but just leave the comments and whatever. Iggy, thank you very much, mate, and sorry about AC Milan tonight.
They won. They got through, man. They lost tonight, but they're through.
Yeah, that's the last couple of games. They've not been very. Yeah.
Listen. I know it costs you a bit. I get it. Over the weekend.
I'm annoyed with them. But listen, Iggy, thank you so much. Stel, thanks for coming on, mate. Always appreciate it.
No, thank you, man. Enjoyed it. It was a good show. Looking forward to the next one. And yeah, man. Hopefully, we get a win against Palace. But we've got a whole week to prepare and talk about that.
Yeah. I can't believe we're not playing. And Lee, listen, big up, mate. Thank you so much for coming on. And feel free to go and write that song with Stel. What is it? Ben Davis. Ben Davis.
I'll get my keyboard out.
Yeah.
Always a pleasure, Sav. Always a pleasure.
No, thanks, guys. Listen, everybody in the chat. I will probably do something over the weekend, but obviously it's tough without Spurs playing. And I don't want to do content for the sake of it. But big up, much love. Smash the like button. Subscribe to Tottenham Away. Please subscribe to my channel. And as always, come on,
you Spurs.
I say as I've not got it ready to play. Come on, you Spurs.